Welcome to Narrative Nook Audio Tales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
On a rainy day in September, drizzle moisturized a mountain town and washed clean the stone streets with a refreshing earthy smell in the air. An 18-year-old girl was on her way to the principal's office at the only high school in the town center. She dressed austerely, but it did not hide the fact that she was beautiful. However, her emotionless eyes made her look sullen and unapproachable. "Mr. Barrett, here comes Nicole." Class teacher, Ms. Mills, led the way for Nicole. Nicole Wallace looked at her with some surprise, wondering why Ms. Mills was suddenly so nice to her. Ms. Mills was someone who placed great importance on family background in the selection of class committee members. "Let her in." The principal was equally excited, even his voice was a little trembling. Nicole slowly chuckled as soon as she stepped into the principal's office. It turned out to be because of him. On the VIP sofa in the principal's office sat a tall man, dressed in an expensive suit, looking like a social elite, but his facial features were like hers. Nicole was studying the man just as the man was studying her. He initially planned to go to the hospital with her for a DNA test, but now it seemed unnecessary. She was a dead ringer for her mother, with the same fine facial features and fair and delicate skin. Her beauty was hard to conceal, even if she dressed casually. Yet the most striking thing was her eyes. She was only 17 or 18, but there was a hint of unfathomable iciness in her eyes. Seeing him staring at herself, Nicole frowned and asked, "Who are you?" She had always known that she was not her grandmother's biological granddaughter, and she had thought that one day her birth family would come looking for her. She thought her biological parents would come. This man was way too young. A hint of frustration flashed in the man's deep-set eyes, and he said, "I am your elder brother." "Nicole, why have you never mentioned to us that your brother is the general manager of the Riddle Corporation in San Joto?" Mr. Barrett could not help but say. Nicole rolled her eyes secretly. She had just learned that, for God's sake. 3 years ago, her parents had died in a car accident, and only then her grandmother told her the truth. She was adopted by them when she was a child. No wonder her adoptive parents had been so cold to her and left her in the countryside. After the death of her adoptive parents, her grandma registered her at the welfare office, waiting for her biological family to come to reunite with her. Nicole did not expect that this day would come, much less her brother was the general manager of Riddle Corporation, a famous name in San Joto. "Are you really my brother?" Nicole had a hard time believing such a plot twist. "Yeah, you have 4 brothers besides me," the man named Sean Riddle spoke gently. 4. Nicole frowned. It turned out that things were far from what she had imagined all this time. She could hardly imagine what it would be like to have 4 elder brothers. It would probably be noisy. Seeing that Nicole was deep in thought, Mrs. Wallace Sr. said to Sean politely, "Nicole is more introverted. She needs time to adapt. Hope you don't mind." "Mrs. Wallace, I won't mind." Sean got up with a polite smile and then took out a gift box from his backpack. "Nicole, this is the first time we met. This is for you." Mr. Barrett quickly stood up and tried to butter Nicole up. "It is so nice of your brother, Nicole. You should accept the gift. I can see that you and your brother are really close. Please remember your classmates and us after the school transfer." Hearing Mr. Barrett's words, Sean's face turned stony, and he glanced back at Mr. Barrett and said indifferently, "Mr. Barrett, Great Oak High School has nurtured my sister for so many years, and we will return the favor by donating money to build the campus. The Riddle family would owe no one debt of gratitude." Mr. Barrett's eyes lit up. "That is great. Thank you, Mr. Riddle." His brother's generosity impressed Nicole, who at last accepted the gift out of politeness. Mr. Barrett gave some more flattery talks before he and his head teacher saw them out. There was a Rolls-Royce parked up in front of the school, surrounded by other luxury cars, which had long attracted attention. Regina Wynne was stopped by her buddy as soon as she got out of a car. "Regina, here you are." She rolled her eyes at her buddy, yet her attention was on the Rolls-Royce. "Whose car is that?" As the daughter of a member of the school's board of directors, she got all the attention all the time until today, when this Rolls-Royce came along. I heard that the general manager of Riddle Corporation came to our school. Riddle Corporation? Regina thought, it is San Joto's biggest corporation. Even my dad couldn't find a way to work with them. What is the guy from Riddle Corporation doing here? Invest in this poor school? No, I heard he came to pick up his sister. Pick up his sister? Regina was stunned. Are you sure about that? Why would someone from the Riddle family want to study at this goddamn school? While the two people were talking, behind them, the principal and a group of head teachers were accompanying a tall man and Nicole to walk out of the school. Regina, the tall man is the general manager of Riddle Corporation, her buddy said with a trembling voice. Regina was astounded as she turned around. If that man was the general manager of Riddle Corporation, then the girl next to him should be his sister. But that girl turned out to be Nicole, the bumpkin she hated and despised the most. Regina's face changed drastically. She could not believe that Nicole was actually from the Riddle family. Regina was not in the same league as Nicole, both in looks and studies. She even did not expect that her family background, which she had always been proud of, was completely eclipsed by Nicole's, and this made her feel jealous to the extreme. Get in the car, Nicole. In full view of everyone, Sean helped Nicole open the car door like a gentleman as he looked at her with gentle eyes. He is so charming. If only I could have such a charming and rich brother. Yeah, I'm really envious of her. Regina listened to the discussion with the jealousy and hatred in her surging like a stormy sea. So she deliberately shouted, "What is there to be proud of? She is just a bumpkin. She thinks she can be a social elite overnight." Nicole was about to get into the car and paused when she heard that. Now, even Sean's eyes had darkened. "What the hell are you talking about, Regina?" Ms. Mills looked displeased. Mr. Barrett recognized this daughter of a board member, but he still could not afford to offend the Riddles. He immediately rebuked Ms. Mills. "Is this the student council president you have appointed?" "Aye." Nicole promptly fanned the flame. "Ms. Mills, the behavior of student cadres affects the school's image. The next time you select someone with a brain, not just someone who could pay you." Ms. Mills did not expect Nicole to mention that she received monetary benefit by appointing the student council president. Right now, she felt a burning sensation on her face because of the humiliation. When she removed Nicole and appointed Regina to be the student council president, she had gotten a green light from Mr. Barrett. Seeing Nicole displeased, Sean glanced at Mr. Barrett and said in an icy voice, "You know what to do, Mr. Barrett." Thinking back to how she had helped Regina look for trouble with Nicole all these days, Ms. Mills' face turned pale immediately. Mr. Barrett immediately scolded her, "Shame on you, Ms. Mills." He then turned to see. "I will fire her immediately, Mr. Riddle." Ms. Mills was dumbfounded. So did Regina, realizing that her position as the chairman that she bought with money had ended. "Let's go, Nicole." Sean pulled back his gaze, and his frosty expression instantly dissipated as he smiled at Nicole. At first, Nicole just wanted to stir the pot a little to scare them, not expecting Sean to stand up for her. She now felt a little fonder of this strange brother. It felt good to have a brother. Okay. Nicole got in the car, and Sean drove her and Mrs. Wallace Sr. away, leaving behind everyone looking in surprise and envy. The Rolls-Royce soon arrived at Nicole's little house, where she and her grandmother lived together. Sean followed Nicole to pick up her luggage. There were only a few things that Nicole had with her: a notebook, a school bag, and a few pieces of clothing. "Less is more. When we get to San Joto, we will buy you new ones," Sean said thoughtfully, not wanting Nicole to overthink. "I don't like too many things," Nicole said while holding her grandma. She had always been averse to trouble, so she liked it simple. When the driver heard this, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. As the general manager of Riddle Corporation, people were scrambling to please Sean. Yet, this girl rejected him when he offered to buy her things for the first time. Thinking of the fate of those who had offended Sean previously, the driver did not dare to make a sound but stood by the side of the car, trying to reduce his sense of presence. But to his surprise, Sean just let out a nonchalant smile, doting on Nicole like no tomorrow. "No problem. The driver could not be more surprised. Sean seemed to be very gentle with his lost and found sister. The treatment he gave to this sister was something not even the existing sister could enjoy. Before getting into the car, Nicole repeatedly told her grandmother not to see them out. Her usual emotionless eyes turned gentle as she said, "Grandma, I will come back to see you." "Okay." Mrs. Wallace Sr. nodded with tears in her eyes and then reluctantly let go of Nicole's hand and watched her get into the car. As the car drove on, Nicole retracted her gaze only when Mrs. Wallace Sr. grew smaller and smaller before disappearing in the rearview mirror. "If you want, you can take her to San Giotto and live with her. I will arrange a place for her to settle down," Sean said with concern when he saw the pain in her eyes. "It is okay. Everyone knows each other in the small town. She will not get used to it when she goes to San Giotto. Otherwise, she would have asked her grandmother to go with her a long time ago." Not expecting that Nicole was so thoughtful, Sean started to feel sorry and like her even more. He said nothing further and gave her some space. Nicole looked out the window as the town she had been living in was getting farther and farther away behind her. After leaving her grandmother, she would no longer have to conceal herself. The car drove on for hours before they finally reached San Giotto. "Here we are. Dad and Mom are waiting for you." Sean pointed toward the Riddle family house. She did not know who the Riddle family was, but judging by the manor and the massive house that no ordinary people could afford, she could tell that they must be super rich. But Nicole was not as excited and surprised as girls from other ordinary families would react. She just nodded gently. After the rest of them got out of the car, she followed Sean into the house. As she walked past the oil painting gallery by the door, the family butler gave her a tour and explained the famous paintings, all of which were of great value. Nicole looked at them and thought to herself quietly, not revealing anything on her face. 2 of these famous paintings were fake, but the quality of the imitation was not half bad. No one except her and 2 other experts in the world could tell that these 2 paintings were fake. After a while, they came to a hall where Nicole saw 3 people. A couple, neatly dressed, was sitting on the sofa and a young girl about her age was on the side. "Grandpa, Mom, Dad. I have brought my sister back." As soon as Sean's voice trailed off, Gloria Holder and Daniel Riddle saw a tall girl walk in behind Sean. The girl was slim, her skin delicate like gelatin. Although she dressed simply, she was graceful with beautiful eyes. People simply could not take their eyes off her when they saw her. The moment Gloria saw Nicole, her eyes welled up instantly. "It is her, it is my daughter." Bloodline was something amazing. Even though Gloria had not seen Nicole for many years, she could recognize the girl in front of her to be Nicole, her biological daughter, at first glance. Nicole also had this special feeling. So, when Gloria rushed over and hugged her, she did not resist. "Oh Nicole, I have finally found you." Gloria choked up. "It was my fault for not protecting you well enough. I was to blame for your abduction." So, her abduction was real. Nicole used to wonder why her family abandoned her. Was it because she was a daughter? Now knowing that her loved ones cared about her, Nicole's heart softened, and the look on her face was not as stony as when they first met. "Mom, let sis sit down first. We have come all the way home, and she should be tired by now." Sean reminded Gloria thoughtfully. Right. I am just too happy." Gloria agreed but did not let go of her grip. She sat Nicole down. Seeing the entire family surrounding Nicole, a hint of jealousy flashed in the eyes of the girl next to them. But the girl quickly put on a smile. "Nicole must be thirsty. Let me pour you a glass of water." Only then everyone remembered the girl, Norah Riddle. Seeing Norah so thoughtful, Gloria could not help but feel warm-hearted. Norah is so thoughtful. Norah looked a little bashful as she said, "My sister has just returned from the countryside. I should take care of her more." "Thanks." Nicole shot her a glance as she took the glass from Norah. Sean noticed Nicole's gaze and made the introduction. "Nicole, this is Norah, whom I have mentioned on the way." "Ah," Nicole responded. Sean mentioned that Gloria and Daniel had not continued to look for Nicole because they had found a child with a birthmark behind her ear in the 3rd year of Nicole's abduction. So, they mistook Norah as their daughter and did not continue the search. It was not until recently that the police suddenly informed them that the DNA data uploaded years ago had a match. The Riddle family knew they had identified the wrong person. But Norah had been in the Riddle family for so many years, and Gloria and Daniel could not bear to send her away summarily. So, they let Norah stay, promising to help her find her family later. In other words, they would need to spend some time under the same roof. Nice to meet you, Nicole. Norah held out her hand with a friendly smile. Nicole had a cold temperament and did not like physical contact with people. She was not too warmed up to seeing her parents again, let alone facing strangers. So, she ignored Norah's hand and just nodded at her. Nice to meet you. Norah's hand stayed in the air, and she looked at Gloria and Daniel with a hint of hurt feeling in her eyes. It was like Nicole had bullied her. Sean frowned. Nicole is introverted. Please don't mind. Norah bit her lip with a stoic but thoughtful look. I understand. I have lived using her identity for so many years. She has a reason to hate me. I am fine, Sean. Norah's words instantly had everyone's attention on her. No, Norah, don't overthink. Gloria looked at Norah, feeling sorry for her. Even though Norah was not her biological daughter, she had raised her and still loved her. Nicole smirked, hating to see Norah making a fuss while saying hello. This person was really interesting. You look hurt and assume that I hate you while saying hello. If it weren't for the presence of my parents and brothers, they might have thought I bullied you. The other three people stayed silent upon hearing what Nicole said. At first, Sean furrowed his brow when he heard what Norah had said. But now, his frown had eased up, and he looked with appreciation at his newfound sister in front of him. Daniel also realized something, and he glanced at Norah and said, Well, Nicole has just returned. Don't get too sensitive. Norah bit her lip and glanced at Nicole. At first, she thought that since Nicole was from the countryside, she must be a typical country bumpkin. But Nicole turned out to be extremely beautiful and a tough opponent. Norah collected herself and immediately apologized. It was my fault. I am sorry that I was being too sensitive. You are right, Nicole. I shouldn't assume too much. Seeing Norah's tactful response, Nicole did not pursue the matter further. She looked back at the elders and asked, Where is my room? I would like to unpack my stuff. Gloria got up with a smile. On the second floor. Let me show you. Thank you. Nicole nodded and went upstairs with Gloria and Daniel. The happy smile of the family of three stung Norah's eyes. Before Nicole returned, all the favors of her parents were hers. But now, when they knew she was not their biological daughter, they gave all their love to Nicole. Norah, Sean suddenly spoke. Norah immediately fought back the emotion in her eyes and smiled. What's up, Sean? Sean took a hard look at Norah, hoping that the dismal look he had just seen in her eyes was not true. Nicole has just returned. Your second brother and I are busy at work, and your third and fourth brothers are in school. I need you to take care of Nicole for a few days before she gets to her new school. It was Nicole again. Norah was upset but still put on a smile. Sure, Sean. You can count on me. Sean was relieved. I have also passed your DNA data to the police, and I believe there will be results soon. Don't worry. All right. Norah's voice was unnatural as hatred grew inside her. Were they so desperate to kick her out of the family so that they could be reunited as a family? Norah gritted her teeth quietly as her resentment of Nicole grew even more. Sean was really busy. He headed back to his office right afterward. Gloria dragged Nicole into a room that faced east on the second floor. The corner of Nicole's mouth twitched when she saw everything inside the room was rose pink, very girly. We don't know what you like, but thinking that you are also a girl, we asked Norah for advice, and she chose many things here for you. Gloria's eyes were filled with tenderness when talking about Norah. Ahem. Daniel was afraid that Nicole would think too much and quickly signaled to Gloria. Gloria came to her senses and became cautious when she spoke. Do you like it? Nicole had never been picky about these things. Just that things were a little over the top for her, but she still accepted their kindness. Thank you. Gloria was relieved that her daughter still liked it, so she followed up and continued. Those gifts on the table are from your other brothers. They have all gone to work and school today, usually not coming back often. So, they have left the gifts here in advance. It was so heartwarming to know that her brothers still had her at heart, Nicole thought. Gloria was afraid that Nicole did not know how to use the facilities in the room, so she showed her how to. After that, she sat Nicole down on the bed with an avuncular look on her face. "This is your home, so please feel at ease. If you need anything, just tell me, okay?" With her mother holding her hand, Nicole once again felt the closeness of this mother-daughter relationship. It felt a little uncomfortable, but it was also heartwarming. She could not help but nod her head awkwardly. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad." Daniel had said nothing, but he immediately broke out in a smile when Nicole called him Dad. The two chatted for a while, and then they left Nicole alone so that she could rest up. Nicole now felt extra relaxed lying in the bathtub. She had always wanted to install a bathtub at her grandmother's house but was afraid that her grandmother would be worried, thinking that her money came from an unknown source. So, she really had not gotten the chance to do it even though she had the money. She could not take care of her grandmother anymore after coming to San Giotto, but at least, she did not have to hide her identity anymore. After taking a bath, it was not yet dinner time. Nicole planned to take a stroll outside to familiarize herself with the environment and make her work easier in the future. But before she could leave, a maid approached and invited her to the living room. As soon as she came downstairs, she saw an old man sitting on the sofa. Daniel saw Nicole and immediately beckoned her over to sit down. "Nicole, this is your grandpa." Nicole had been living in a small town, but she had come into contact with many people, especially those from the upper social class. The old man looked over 70, but was still in good health. He had that authoritative persona typical of a patriarch of a family elder in him. Nicole bowed her head slightly as she greeted Mr. Riddle Sr. with respect. "Hello, Grandpa." Mr. Riddle Sr. responded, then studied Nicole carefully before retracting his gaze. "She really looks like Sean and other brothers. I asked you to do a DNA test previously, but you didn't listen." Mr. Riddle Sr. did not mention who, but there was no difference from saying Norah's name aloud. Yet he did not care but continued, "Since the real one is back now, when are you going to send the fake one away?" Nicole was startled slightly. It looked like Mr. Riddle Sr. did not like Norah. "Dad, what you said will hurt Norah dearly." Gloria could not bear to hear that. Mr. Riddle Sr. did not look at her. "If it were not for her, my granddaughter would not have lived out there for so many years. Our family has raised her for so many years, and we have never asked her to pay back. How can it hurt?" Mr. Riddle Sr. knew what he was talking about, and that made Nicole respect him. Daniel saw Norah's awkward expression and said, "Norah, why don't you return to your room first?" "Okay." As reluctant as Norah was, she did not want to stay here and get humiliated, so she hurried back to her room. "Dad, Sean is in the midst of searching for Norah's parents. She will be sent back to her parents once we find them." Daniel tried to reassure Mr. Riddle Sr. Mr. Riddle Sr. frowned. "Are you still keeping her at home if you can't find her parents?" Gloria was stunned for a moment, looking in a pickle. "Dad, I know that you are kind to us, but Norah has lived with us for so many years. I don't want her to leave without a home." Nicole looked at Gloria, whose sincere expression told her that Gloria was a kind and soft-hearted person. Mr. Riddle Sr. hesitated for a moment but still said resolutely, 3 months, at most 3 months, she must be sent away. I don't want people to laugh at the Riddle family that we have raised children for others." Daniel understood Mr. Riddle Sr.'s concern and nodded. "Dad, don't worry. I will find Norah's parents soonest." Mr. Riddle Sr. nodded. Meanwhile, no one noticed Norah was hiding in the corner upstairs, staring at Nicole angrily. Mr. Riddle Sr. had never liked her from the beginning. Now that Nicole was back, she became a complete joke. She would definitely make Mr. Riddle Sr. realize that she was 1,000 times better than that country girl. Mr. Riddle Sr. looked back at Nicole. The longer he looked, the more he liked her. After all, she was his biological granddaughter. When the other old guys talked about their granddaughters next time, he could finally join them and talk about his precious granddaughter. "I heard you went to high school at Great Oak. How was your academic performance?" "Dad, the quality of education in small towns is no way as good as ours here, so don't put pressure on her." Knowing Mr. Riddle Sr. was a straight talker, Gloria came to Nicole's defense, afraid that the question was too hard for Nicole to handle. After all, There was a vast difference between the quality of education in small towns and San Joto. Mr. Riddle Sr. frowned upon hearing that. Gloria had a point. What good teachers could a school in a small town have? Mr. Riddle Sr. took a deep breath, put down his teacup, and looked at Daniel with a serious face. Arrange a school for Nicole as soon as possible. The children of the Riddle family should not be left behind. Nicole raised an eyebrow slightly as she could tell that Mr. Riddle Sr. was bold in his decision and quick in action, which was a trait she liked. It was just that things like grades were. Just then, Daniel had already made a guarantee. I know, Dad. I will arrange it. Mr. Riddle Sr. nodded and looked at Nicole again. I know the quality of education in small towns is not ideal, but all my grandchildren are in the top 5 of the grades in every exam. You can't let me down, you know? Seeing that Mr. Riddle Sr. cared so much about results, Nicole had no choice. Don't worry, Grandpa. She would not want to lose face herself, even if it was not for him. Good girl. Seeing Nicole's confidence and decorum, Mr. Riddle Sr. was very happy. He ordered the family butler, I will go back today, and in a few days, you are to take Nicole back to my house so everyone will have a meal together. Daniel and Gloria's faces changed. Dad, is that necessary? Mr. Riddle Sr. had 4 sons. The eldest son was a business wizard, the second a business magnate, the third a banking giant. Only Daniel, because of poor health, had not been involved in the business of Riddle Corporation, but moved out early to have his own life. So was the reason his relationship with his 3 brothers was less close, and they rarely interacted with each other. They would only head over to Mr. Riddle Sr.'s house during his birthday and festive seasons. Even then, every time they got together, Gloria and Daniel would inevitably be taunted by the other 3 couples. Gloria had had enough. Nicole's return was a good thing, but the thought of her daughter having to face these people with her made her feel bad. Dad is right. Nicole has just returned, and all family members need to get to know each other, Daniel said indifferently. Besides, I plan to send Nicole to Royal Creek Institute, and I need eldest brother's help. The Royal Creek Institute, divided into a university and a high school, was the most outstanding educational institution in San Joto, and the quality of education was guaranteed. Just that entry criteria were also high. Daniel wanted nothing less for his daughter, and so he was adamant about getting her into Royal Creek Institute. Is Royal Creek Institute good? Nicole squinted slightly, not having much knowledge about this school. But she knew someone there at least. Of course. It is the best school in San Joto. Your brothers are all attending that school. If you have also entered the high school of Royal Creek Institute, they can take care of you, Daniel said affectionately. Royal Creek Institute is good indeed. But when Dad asked Damien to help Samuel get a place in the school last time, his wife was very reluctant. This time she would be even more reluctant, I guess, Gloria said with concern. Why don't we think of another way? The Holder family also had some connections. Gloria had to give it a shot for the sake of her daughter. It is all right. Damien and his wife are trouble-averse, but they are not bad people. They will just grouse about it. All I need is for Nicole to get a place in Royal Creek Institute, Daniel whispered. He would do everything he could. Daniel, Gloria was grateful, but it also pained her to see him having to do that. Seeing her parents were willing to do anything for her, Nicole blinked, unsure if she should tell them she knew someone in Royal Creek Institute. Just then, Mr. Riddle Sr. spoke. Daniel is right. Damien will help. Even if they were reluctant to do it, Nicole still has my support. Fear not. Mr. Riddle Sr. spoke emphatically, his eyes completely filled with the look of a doting grandfather. He would be thankful if his sons did not drive him to his early grave. Now that he had finally found his biological granddaughter, it was natural that he doted on her like a little princess. Words choked in Nicole's throat. For the first time in her life, she felt warmth from her family's protection. So, she had decided that she would figure it out for herself and would not want them to worry about her too much. Mr. Riddle Sr. talked for a few moments about Nicole before reluctantly leaving without staying for dinner. After Mr. Riddle Sr. left, Daniel and Gloria went upstairs to rest. Nicole then took out her phone, composed a text message, and sent it out. Just when she was about to go upstairs, someone stood in her way. Did I hear it correctly when I was about to come downstairs that Dad and Mom were going to send you to the high school of Royal Creek Institute? Nicole silently stepped up a flight of steps to the left, on the same level as Norah, but pulled away some distance from her. She then nodded and said, "Is there a problem?" "There isn't a problem, just that you will only drag the feet of others in Royal Creek Institute if you are not good enough. It would not look good if you can't keep up and overstretch yourself." Looking at Norah pretending to be concerned about her, Nicole smirked and said, "Oh, so what is your opinion?" Nicole's sudden outpouring of rowdiness threw Norah off guard. Norah calmed herself down before saying, "Dad and Mom are going to great lengths to send you to the high school of Royal Creek Institute, but your poor grades will ruin it all. It would be better for you to propose to go to another school." If Nicole successfully entered the high school of Royal Creek Institute, she would be a sophomore just like her. What if they were in the same class? The thought of these made Norah sick. "Don't worry, I won't let Dad and Mom worry about it. I can get into Royal Creek Institute by myself," Nicole responded indifferently. "What?" Norah was stunned. "How do you get in by yourself?" She was just a high school student from the countryside, and she said she could enter Royal Creek Institute? Was it not that she was just bragging? "You don't have to worry about that." It was tiring to communicate with such a person. Nicole's smile faded from her face, and she went straight upstairs. Norah looked at Nicole's back, her eyes full of indignation. "I would want to see how you, a country girl, could get into Royal Creek Institute." The next day was the weekend. Nicole got up early to go for a morning run. This was her habit for many years. After the morning run, she found a quiet place and started practicing her skills. She needed constant practice to keep her skills in a tip-top state. It was almost 7 when she returned. As soon as she entered the door, Norah saw that Gloria and Daniel were already waiting for her, and Norah was also standing beside them. "Where have you been? Dad and Mom were worried about you when they saw you were not here." Norah saw Nicole approaching and spoke out to blame her preemptively. Nicole frowned incomprehensibly. "I just went out for a morning run. Is there anything urgent?" Gloria was relieved. No wonder. Exercise is indeed a good habit. But Norah would not easily take that for an answer. "No matter what I did before, I would tell Dad and Mom in advance so that they would not worry about me. You need to take care of Mom's feelings, you know?" Norah effortlessly brought the topic back. "You all had not gotten up when I went out for morning exercise. Besides, I told the family butler." Nicole looked nonchalantly at Norah, wanting to see what other charges Norah could dish out at her. "But it is just a small matter. There is no need to make a fuss about it. Let's all sit down and have breakfast." Danielle suddenly interrupted before Norah could continue. Norah's face changed dramatically. In the past, she used to joke like this, grumbling about her brothers for making their parents worry about them, and her father had never reproved her like this. But everything changed after Nicole returned. Feeling hurt, Norah suddenly said, "Does Dad think I am nosy? But I have been doing this all this while. Did I do it wrong?" Norah was born with an adorable face and looked pitiful as soon as her eyes welled up. Daniel could not help but wonder if he had said things too harshly. But Nicole, who was standing on the sidelines, had lost patience with Norah's acting. "You did the right thing, but I am not a replica of you." What Nicole said caused Daniel and Gloria to remember that they must accept the difference between Nicole and Norah. Nicole is right. Mom will not treat you like a replica of anyone, as long as you are happy to be yourself. Gloria reached out to help Nicole sort her sideburns. She only wanted her daughter to be happy, and nothing else mattered. But all this looked different in Norah's eyes. Before this, she would try to do her best, trying to please Gloria and Daniel in whatever she did, as she was afraid that such a good life would just be a dream. When the dream ended, she would return to the previous hard days. Now, her fears had come true. Their biological daughter was back, and they indulged Nicole, no matter what she did. But what about her? Had all her previous efforts been in vain? Norah felt miserable and no longer cared to keep her image as a good elder sister. She turned around and said, "Mom, Dad, please enjoy your meal, but I will have to go upstairs first." "Norah," Gloria tried to stop her, but Daniel stopped her, motioning for her to take care of Nicole's feelings. Afraid that Nicole would feel left out in the cold, Gloria stayed and looked at Nicole. Look at you, you are drenched in sweat. Go get changed, and then come down for breakfast. Okay. Nicole did not want to make her parents' life any harder either, so she turned and went upstairs. Seeing that both daughters were gone, Daniel said, "Do you now know why Dad asked you to send Norah away earlier? Nobody is a saint." Facing their own daughter, who they had lost for many years, and the adopted daughter, who had stayed with them and enjoyed a good life for many years, inevitably, there will be favoritism and imbalance. What Mr. Riddle Sr. was trying to do was to protect both sides. He did not want to see the relationship between the Riddle family and Norah of so many years end up breaking. Now I know. Sadness filled Gloria's eyes. The longer Norah stayed, the sadder everyone would be. After lunch, Gloria brought Nicole to go shopping at the mall. Because Nicole had so few belongings, Gloria was afraid that Nicole was being too considerate and stubborn, not wanting to request for anything. She did not want Nicole to feel unfairly treated. Norah was also accompanying them. As soon as they entered the mall, Norah gleefully picked up clothes and bags as if she had forgotten entirely about what happened in the morning. "Mom, do you think I look good in this dress?" "Absolutely." "Nicole, why don't you pick some for yourself?" Gloria was still mindful of what happened in the morning, afraid of neglecting Norah while snubbing Nicole. She had to keep a delicate balance. Knowing that Gloria was caught between a rock and a hard place, Nicole asked her to accompany Norah while she browsed the clothes in the store by herself. She always liked things simple yet decent, but this boutique that Norah had come to was selling flashy clothes. So, Nicole just browsed for a short while and said, "Mom, I want to go somewhere else." "You found nothing you like?" "I think this one is not bad." Gloria immediately came over to show her a piece of dress. Norah was jealous that her mom went away as soon as Nicole called her. So, when she saw the clothes in their hands, she went over to them with a plan. "Mom, this dress looks wonderful, but it is too expensive. Besides, not everyone will look good in it." So, was Norah insinuating that she did not look good enough to wear that dress? Nicole cocked an eyebrow and said, "I am not so fond of a dress like this, but since you have said so, I have got to try it." "Okay, try it." Gloria's eyes lit up as she instinctively knew that this dress suited Nicole, and so she hurriedly urged her. Norah did not expect Nicole to say that, and she felt upset at the moment. This hillbilly really dared to try. Nicole took the dress and disappeared into the fitting room. It was not long before she drew open the door curtain and appeared in this gorgeous dress. She was used to wearing just pants that were convenient for her to move around. By wearing a dress suddenly, she felt naked. Nicole usually dressed more casually, but thanks to her curvy body lines, she still looked great, even smart, in t-shirts and pants. Changing into this white dress would not look weird, but make her look skin gelatinous and beautiful. After letting her long hair down, Nicole and Gloria looked even more alike, so too their temperament. "Young lady, you look beautiful in this dress. Many people have tried this dress, but none of them look as good as you in it." The boutique manager sounded flattery, but it was true. Gloria's eyes were also filled with elation. "This dress it is. It couldn't look any better on you." Norah looked jealous, as much as surprised. "Mom, I like this too. Can I try it?" She was the one who was raised in a wealthy family, so she did not believe that she would lose to a hillbilly. The boutique manager was caught in the middle. "I am sorry, the clothes in our boutique are all handmade, and this dress is a limited edition of the season, so there is only one piece." Gloria was also in a predicament. But seeing that Nicole looked so gorgeous in that dress, she could only say, "Norah, the other clothes in this store are also beautiful. Let's look at the other pieces." She then asked the boutique manager to issue the bill and walked toward the cashier counter. Norah almost stomped her feet in displeasure, but she could not lose her composure. Her mouth twitched as she squeezed a smile. Nicole sneered. She had never caused trouble, but she would not run away if someone came looking for trouble. Whoever wanted to affront her, she would surely return the favor. Nicole was not in a hurry to change back into her clothes. Instead, she walked around the store in front of Norah in this dress and then turned to look at other clothes. Sensing that Nicole would glow in any dress she wore, just like her, Gloria started to put anything beautiful on her. Norah saw Gloria buy Nicole several outfits and followed suits, getting herself 5 to 6 sets. But Gloria, citing the fact that she already had a lot of clothes, only bought 2 sets for her. Norah's face was looking more and more cast down this afternoon. Seeing that Gloria had been holding Nicole's hand all day and refusing to let go, the fire of jealousy was about to burst out of her eyes. "Mom, Norah? What are you all doing here?" A voice suddenly spoke. Gloria turned her head and saw that it was her son, Steve. "What are you doing here?" "We are here shopping." "Steve, do you miss me today?" Seeing Steve, Norah rushed over and held Steve's hand, looking like they were very close. Steve pulled Norah's hand off his, as he felt awkward when other people were around. "Our company plans to invest in this mall, so I came to check out the situation with the person in charge here." Nicole heard from Daniel that her second brother, Steve, was a financial wizard. "Hi Steve," she said hello politely. Just like Sean, Steve inherited the genes of his parents, born handsome. He looked extraordinary with a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. Seeing Nicole, Steve's eyes lit up. "I just wondered how there was a beautiful girl around my mother. It turns out to be my little sister." Nicole smirked, not expecting that this gentle-looking brother of hers was a sweet talker. Norah pouted, feeling not too happy. "You have never complimented me that way, Steve." In more than a decade, they had never been close. Steve could not help but freeze in place. But he quickly responded saying, "You don't need me to state the obvious, Norah. You are equally beautiful." This obviously sounded insincere. After all, Norah looked much ordinary, and there was actually a slight difference between her and the Riddles. "Nicole, I am quite busy these days and have no time to go home to see you. But I will bring you out to dinner when I am back in a few days." "Sure." Nicole nodded in agreement. After saying hello, Steve got busy with his work. Gloria looked on with a smile as Steve and then looked back at Nicole with a doting expression. "Steve's biggest hobby is to make money, and he is pretty stingy. Judging by his willingness to bring you out to dinner, I guess he values you a lot." These words stirred Norah's jealousy even more. Indeed, Steve had not invited her to dinner in so many years. But he was so generous to Nicole when Nicole returned. Was this the difference between biological and non-biological sisters? Why? She was the sister who had lived with him under the same roof for over 10 years, for God's sake. Norah was really upset, her teeth almost sinking into her lip. But she had to put up a fake gentle smile as she followed behind the two. When they arrived home, the 3 of them noticed a luxury car that they had never seen before parked up in front of the door. Feeling curious, Gloria entered the house with her 2 daughters and saw a well-dressed man sitting across Daniel. Even if the man was not facing them directly, his extraordinary charm made it impossible for people to take their eyes off him. Norah had never seen such a good-looking man before. She rushed up to Gloria and said, "Mom, who is that person?" Gloria shook her head and walked in. "Hey, Daniel." When Daniel saw Gloria and his daughters, he quickly got up and introduced them. "Jared, this is my wife, and this is my younger daughter." As Daniel introduced Nicole to Jared Johnston, the affection on his face was plain to see. Norah was waiting for Daniel to introduce her, but Daniel did not even spare her a glance. Jared's glacial eyes swept over the 3 of them, and then he stood up and nodded to Nicole. "Hello, I am Jared." Jared's words startled Gloria and Norah. The friendship between the Johnston and Riddle families spanned across generations. Mr. Johnston Sr. and Mr. Riddle Sr. had made a marriage arrangement for their grandchildren in the early years, and Jared was the fiancé whom Norah had been hearing about but had never met. Jared had been studying abroad before. She did not expect that when Jared finally returned to the country, she was no longer the daughter of the Riddle family. Noticing that Jared was staring at Nicole, jealousy turned into thorns pricking Norah in the heart. She felt hurt even when breathing. It was all Nicole's fault for not coming back at the right time. Otherwise, she would be the only person Jared saw now. Nicole. The man in front of him was truly charming, but Nicole simply responded with her name and said nothing else. Gloria felt awkward but guessed that Nicole had just returned, not knowing who Jared was. So she quickly explained, "Nicole's is simple and forthright. Hope you don't mind." Jared could not help but take a second look at Nicole. "It is all right. I like such a forthright personality." What he said elated Daniel and Gloria. Jared was the most outstanding grandchild of the Johnston family. It would be great if Nicole could get his likes. Nicole looked at Jared's dark eyes and felt that there was more to this man than met the eye. She was good at reading people, but this man had an unfathomable look in the eyes. The three of them sat down together. Gloria deliberately let Nicole and Jared sit next to each other, and Norah could only sit down by herself. Nicole felt it weird, wondering why she was seated next to a stranger. Just then, Jared held up the coffee cup and continued. My grandfather has not been feeling well recently and wants to meet my fiancé. I know it is odd, but so I am here today. Nicole was completely dumbfounded. Fiancé? What the hell was going on? When Daniel coughed nervously, Gloria got the hint and hurriedly said, Nicole, you just came back, and we hadn't told you that your grandfather and Mr. Johnston Sr. made a marriage arrangement for you. Jared is your fiancé. What? What the hell? She had only been back to the Riddle family for 2 days and had not even met all the family members. Yet here she met her fiancé? As cool as she was, she could no longer stay calm. Arranged marriage? Seriously, Mom? Don't you think this is too outrageous? Who would still get married by arranged marriages nowadays? I know it is hard for you to accept, but that was the practice during your grandfather's time, Daniel said helplessly. He and Gloria had also worried about this before, but when they saw Jared was such an excellent man, they hoped Nicole would find a good husband like him. Nicole's face turned pale, but Norah thought Nicole took things for granted. Nicole, I was supposed to marry Jared, but now since you have returned, I should return what is rightfully yours. You must not let down Grandpa. Norah finally caught everyone's attention, and even Jared was now looking at her. Norah saw Jared looking at her, her heart instantly pounding, her face blushed. She let out a smile like a fine lady. Jared sized her up and said, So she is the adopted daughter of the Riddle family? Jared emphasized the word adopted when he spoke. It made Norah feel like a basin of icy water pouring on her head. This was the biggest thorn in her heart. Norah did not expect Jared to say it so directly. For a moment, the smile froze on her face. She did not want to admit it, but she could not deny it either. All she could do now was to bite her lip with a hurt feeling, her eyes reddening, looking as if she deserved pity. Norah had known since she was a child that she was not as outstanding as her parents and brothers in terms of looks, but being the sole daughter of the family was her advantage. Usually, she just needed to use the victim card, and everyone would soften and not hurt her again. It was a trick that had always been working. But Jared did not seem to buy this. He said indifferently, I appreciate what our grandpas have done for us, but the times are different now. If you do not agree to this marriage, you may also take this opportunity to cancel the arrangement with my grandpa. It sounded matter of course to Jared, as if it was just a weather chat. But it completely stunned Daniel and Gloria. Cancel the marriage arrangement? Nicole keenly caught a glimpse of the determination in the man's eyes and suddenly realized that he was seizing the opportunity of her return and came to sound her out, and encouraged her to withdraw the marriage arrangement. It seemed that he did not want this marriage either. Just that Mr. Johnston Sr. refused, and so he came to dissuade her from agreeing to this marriage. Nicole frowned slightly. She did not like to be manipulated, and hated being used even more. The Johnston family is prominent in San Joto, and Mr. Johnston, you are older than me. It is inappropriate for a little girl like me to cancel the marriage arrangement, and it is going to make the Johnston family look bad. Nicole called herself a little girl, but her composure did not look like an 18-year-old at all. Jared looked sideways at Nicole but only met with her unfathomable eyes, his heart trembling inexplicably as if he had been seen through by this precocious little girl. That was interesting. As Daniel and Gloria came out of their shock, Daniel said in a deep voice, Nicole is right. It was Mr. Johnston Sr. who proposed the marriage arrangement. If Nicole were to back off from this engagement, it would upset Mr. Johnston Sr. Besides, the impact of canceling the engagement would affect Nicole dearly, and they needed more time to think about it. Even if Nicole really wanted to back off from the engagement, it should not be Nicole who brought this up. It would jeopardize the friendship between the two families if things were not handled properly. But the marriage engagement between the two families had long been spread far and wide in San Joto. If the Johnston family was to cancel the engagement, it was going to affect Nicole too. Seeing that the Riddle family was in a predicament, Jared thought for a moment and said, "Since it is a matter of two families, whichever side proposes it will hurt the friendship of the two families. So it is better for Nicole and I to go back to the Johnston family together and explain it to my grandfather. Nicole, what do you think?" Daniel and Gloria were very optimistic about this marriage, but if Nicole was not into it, they were not going to force it. So what if it would affect her reputation? If their daughter chose not to get married, they were willing to support her for a lifetime. Sure. Set a time. Nicole had no objection. As much as she disliked this pretentious guy, she was more opposed to losing her freedom, especially when she had just returned home. She had more important things to do. "Then wait until my grandpa gets better and I will come and pick up." Jared smiled politely at Nicole. Nicole nodded and said, "Okay." Norah watched and quietly cursed as Nicole rejected such a good marriage with just a few words. Not willing to let go, she glanced at Jared and thought of a plan. After some pleasantries, Jared got up and left, refusing to let Daniel and Gloria see him out. But Norah insisted, and Daniel let her be. That was the least they could do. Seeing Jared leave, Daniel looked at Nicole with concern. "Are you really going to back off from the engagement?" Norah was looking forward to this marriage before this. But when Nicole returned and Jared came to discuss the withdrawal of the engagement, Nicole agreed to it, to their surprise. They did not want to interfere with it, but they still felt that they were missing such an excellent man like Jared as their son-in-law. Nicole might regret it in the future. "I am still young and studies are my priority." Nicole made an excuse that was often seen on TV. Nicole is right. She is still young and will have more choices in the future. Gloria was relieved, and Daniel did not insist anymore. Outside the door, Norah was seeing Jared out. Jared now felt unfriendly, completely opposite the gentleness and humility when he was talking inside. But in order to achieve her goal, Norah still plucked up enough courage and said, "Jared, my sister does not know any better. Please don't mind what she said for wanting to cancel the engagement." Jared glanced sideways at Norah. "I don't mind." Norah was not sure if it was an illusion. Jared seemed to become even more unapproachable. But there was only one chance, and Norah selectively ignored it, pretending to be shy as she continued. "Actually, before my sister came back, I was your fiancé. Unfortunately, it has all changed." After hinting it so obviously, Norah bowed her head shyly, waiting for Jared to respond. Yet, Jared's eyes suddenly darkened and his voice icy when he said, "Fish eyes can never be passed off as pearls. All things should return to their rightful places." Norah's face turned pale. Raising her head and looking at Jared again, she saw his frosty expression. His icy gaze was so in your face, piercing into her heart and making her tremble. Just then, the Johnston family driver had pulled the car up. Jared got into the car and instructed the driver to drive him off. Norah slowly came out of her daze as she watched the car leave. Was Jared ridiculing her as just a fish eye and Nicole was the pearl? Why? Why did these people discard her like garbage when Nicole returned? It is all Nicole's fault. Had Nicole not returned, she would have always been the princess of the Riddle family, enjoying the wealth of her parents, the favor of her brothers, and Jared would have been hers. Norah stared back at the door of the living hall with an extremely sinister look in her eyes. She did not want to be sent away. She was not going to leave this family. Everything here should rightly belong to her. Upstairs, Nicole had taken a shower and gotten changed, finally getting a moment of peace. With nothing to do, she turned on her computer. After fiddling with the normal Windows interface for a while, a mysterious window popped up, revealing a list of the hunter jobs inside. Looking at the list of jobs, a head portrait flashed in the private chat window. She clicked open it and saw the teammate codenamed Spectre talking to her. "Lucifer, you have been offline for many days. Where have you been?" "Just living a few days of normal life," Nicole calmly replied. "You have been on the wanted list online. I can't believe that you can still enjoy a normal life." Spectre showed her a few screenshots. While she was away for the past few days, someone had pinned an order at the top, and she was the target. "Isn't that common?" Nicole smirked, not taking it seriously. In the dark web called the Hunters, whether it was the Hunters Union or a lone hunter, It was common to offend someone because of taking on certain jobs. Most of the jobs she had accepted this year were big cases, and it was normal that she was now wanted. Common? Didn't you see the bounty? It is $10 million. Spectre attached an emoji that showed as if he was about to crawl out of the screen. Oh yeah. Nicole clicked an icon, and sure enough, she saw the reward of the job, which was the highest reward of this year. It seemed that she had stepped on someone's toes, and that person was offering a $10 million bounty to come after her. That was interesting. If she was not the one being wanted, she would have taken on the job. Oh yeah? You should lie low from now on and don't expose yourself. Nicole looked at the screen and replied sarcastically, worry about yourself. The entire world knows that you and I have worked together. She was confident of staying undetected as no one had found her for so many years. Spectre was her partner, but she was not sure how well Spectre could hide. Damn it. You just reminded me. I almost forgot. I had better stay offline from now on. Take care. Spectre went dark right after. Nicole shook her head at Spectre's nervousness. It was she who was wanted, not Spectre. Nicole let out a sigh and continued to browse through the list. Risking her safety, she picked a job that offered an attractive reward, and then shut down the computer and went to sleep. Unbeknownst to her, her actions were provocative to someone else. A tall man was looking at the webpage with sullen eyes in a dark room somewhere. He had finally settled things about his fiancé today. What really caused him a headache was this hacker. The phone rang, and he picked it up. Mr. Johnston, Lucifer appeared again and even accepted a job, Max, Jared's assistant, said in disbelief. Jared's eyes darkened and said coldly, I saw it. Lucifer, the most powerful hacker in the Hunters, had caused him to lose a lot of money 3 months ago. He had been looking for this hacker, but she had not appeared. So he had to put a bounty on her. When she suddenly went online today, Jared immediately sent someone to trace her location. He had failed to defeat Lucifer's firewall, and Lucifer had successfully gone online and accepted a job before going dark again. This was nothing short of a provocation to him. What do we do? Max did not know what to do. She was online for quite a while, yet our people could not trace her down. Jared's eyes darkened as he loosened his bow tie and said coldly, since we can't catch her, then let's bait her. You have an idea? Max was relieved. Jared squinted and said again in a bitter voice, no matter what job she has accepted today, find the client and take over. He could catch her as long as he became the client. Yes. Understood. Max nodded and hung up. Jared put down his phone and stared at Lucifer's avatar, and scoffed. I lost $100 million because of you. I am going to catch you. 3 days had passed in the blink of an eye. Nicole had officially returned to the Riddle family, and almost everything except her school was in place. Daniel and Gloria were eager to seek help from Damien, Daniel's eldest brother. So Daniel planned to take Nicole back to see Damien, and Sean was coming back to pick them up. Inside the car, Daniel could not help telling Gloria, no matter what Damien and his wife say today, stay calm for the sake of our child. Got it, Gloria replied with a martyred look. Sean could see Nicole's perplexity and whispered, our 2 aunts may be a little mean when they talk. Don't take it to heart. Got it. Nicole nodded. Seeing Gloria's nervous look, she knew that the 2 aunts must be nasty. Nicole thought for a moment, and then took out her phone and sent a text message. Sean started the car. Norah smiled and waved at the 4 of them. Be safe, Mom, Dad, Sean. I will. Sean did not look at her but fired up the engine immediately. Even Daniel and Gloria did not talk to her. Watching the car drive away, Norah's eyes were filled with a look of indignation. They all would take her along when they went to her grandpa's place before this. But now, they just took Nicole alone. She was not qualified to go with them after their biological daughter had returned. Nicole, I'd like to see how a hillbilly like you gets into Royal Creek Institute. She knew the 2 aunts very well. When she first wanted to enter Royal Creek Institute, they all found 1,001 ways to stop her. Now it would be even more impossible for a country girl like Nicole to get their help. She would like to know how else Nicole could compete with her.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.